Hi, seventh graders. Before we move on to today's lesson, I want to make sure that we're good on these triangles and trapezoids from yesterday. So if you can please take out your notes from yesterday, this is the back side of your notes. And we're going to use our formula sheet, and I'll also talk you through how to understand these if you don't want to use the formula sheet. So if we look at this, the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 times the base times the height. Remember, multiplying by 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2. So then you should have area. Actually, let me use a darker pen so you can see. Okay. Area is equal to 1/2 the base times the height. The reason it's 1/2 is because if we were to duplicate this triangle and turn it upside down, you would end up with a parallelogram, which is base times height. But there's only half of it there. That's why we divide by 2. So when we plug it in here, you have your base times your height. So it looks like, and the way that I type it into my calculator is I do 9 times 8 first, and then I divide it by 2 at the end. Okay, so that means the area of my triangle is 36 feet squared. Okay, now let's do your trapezoid. And for those of you that didn't quite follow today, we can make trapezoids into rectangles by cutting it in half like this, taking this part and rotating it around and down like this so that it goes here. So that's like a right angle. And then we can cut this part off right here, rotate it around and right there. And then it's a rectangle. But to be able to use the formula for a rectangle, we need to know what that center line is. So basically, we're averaging 6 and 10 to find out what that center line is going to be. The number that's exactly between 6 and 10 is 8. So this is 8 centimeters. So then all I'd have to do is the height of my rectangle is 5. The width is 8. So that's going to be an area of 40. Or if that is just not clicking with you, then like I said, on the quiz, you can use your formula sheet. Here's the formula that they give you. Okay, I'm going to erase all my markings so we can see that trapezoid a little bit better and not get confused by all the stuff I put on there. Okay, so your height of your trapezoid is 5. And then you add your 2 bases. So base 1 and base 2. So that's going to be 10 plus 6. Now, order of operations says that we need to add what's in the parentheses first. Parentheses is a grouping symbol. It always needs to be done first. Okay, now we can just type it into our calculator. And I always do just multiply first and then divide by 2. So it's going to be 5 times 16 divided by 2. So this is going to be 40, and the units are centimeters squared. All right, next one. Again, we can create a rectangle by creating a little imaginary line here, cutting this off, rotating it around, and now we have a rectangle. So we need to know what number is exactly between 20 and 13. Now, if you can't do this in your head, that's fine. There's a quick way to do it. You just add them up and divide by 2. So this is going to be 13 plus 20 divided by 2, and you get 16.5. That means that the length of the center line here is 16.5 millimeters. Now all you would have to do is multiply 16.5 times 11, and you'll get the area. And I'll do that real quick, and then we'll erase the lines and do it with the formula. So that means the area I'm going to get is 181.5, and that's millimeters squared. And actually, I forgot the M on that one. It's not meters. All right, so now let's use the formula for those of you that would like to do it that way. I'm going to erase all my extra lines so that we don't get confused. Okay, so area is equal to 1/2 the height times base 1 plus base 2. Really, without the height there, you're just averaging your two bases because we add them together and divide by 2. Let's go ahead and plug stuff in. We have 1/2. The height is 11. And the two bases are the ones that are parallel. So this is going to be 13 plus 20. Now, order of operations says that we have to do grouping first. So this is going to be 33 times 11 times 1/2 equals the area. Now, when I plug it into my calculator, I always multiply these first. So 11 times 33, and then divide by 2. So I get that the area is equal to 181.5, and this is millimeters squared. All right, so that's what you should have gotten too. And I hope that you're starting to feel a little bit better about this. You know, keep referencing your formula sheet. As long as you have a formula and you can just plug things in, you should be fine. But we're going to move on now. We're going to do the area of circles today. So let's get some notes set up. And at the end, I'll put the table of contents up for you too. So just put those other notes aside for a moment. All right. You know the drill. I'm just going to quickly make sure that I'm pretty sure I wanted to do circles today, but I'm going to double check. All right. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do circles. We're going to talk about the area of a circle. All right, so make sure you have your name. Don't actually write name. Put your name, please. Okay, so I can find the area of a circle. Okay, before we get into the area of a circle, let's review diameter, or not diameter, circumference first. I'm hoping at this point you're doing pretty well with circumference, but let's just double check. Okay, I'm going to put a circle in here. Now the distance from the center of your circle to the outside edge is the radius. Okay, we use a lowercase r for that. And then if it's the distance all the way across, that is the diameter. So from here to here, okay? So there are two formulas for finding the circumference. There's circumference is equal to pi times diameter, and there's also circumference is equal to 2 pi r. The reason it's multiplied by 2 is because the radius is only halfway. So to get the diameter, you have to multiply it by 2. So that's why this 2 is here. And I'm just going to make sure it's clear that the radius is just halfway. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure you're good on that. Now let's talk about the area of a circle. These formulas tend to get confused all the time. So hopefully I can come up with a way to help you remember it. Now for the area, you have to have the radius. So if you're given the diameter, you're going to have to divide it by 2. So we'll look at that in a minute. The area of a circle is pi r squared. Okay? The way that you can keep it straight, we know that area always has squared units and circumference does not. So if you have no squareds in your equation, then that means it's a circumference equation. If you have a squared here, that means we're talking about area. So let's go ahead and do an example here. I'm going to do one where we're given the radius and one where we're given the diameter. Okay. So we're going to say that the radius here is 8 inches. Okay. That's all you need to know to be able to find the area. So we're going to plug in pi. Since this is the radius, it's going to be 8 squared. Okay. I always put the number that I'm substituting in parentheses because it makes sure that you don't accidentally square something else. Okay. This is 8 squared, not pi squared. Now when I'm typing this into a calculator, we often, if you don't have a pi button, we're going to use an approximation for pi, and it is 3.14. So when I type it into my calculator now, I'm going to do 3.14 times. Now 8 squared is just 8 times 8. So I'm going to go times 8 times 8. And there's my area. Now, this is an approximation, so we use these little squiggly symbols to say that it's approximately 200.96 inches squared. Okay, so that's our area. I want to do another example where you're given the diameter. So I'm going to scoot this up. Okay, so here's a circle. Just do the best you can on your circles. I know you don't have a fancy tool like I do. I love my little circle tool. Okay, so now in this case, let's say that we're given the diameter, the whole distance across. So D equals 12.5 meters, okay? Now, before you can plug it into this equation, we need to find the radius. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our calculator. You can do it by hand if you want, but you don't have to. 12.5 divided by 2. And that's going to give you the radius. Okay? So we can say that the radius is equal to 6.25 meters. Okay? Now that we have the radius, we can plug it in. One of the most common errors is that students will plug in the diameter and get the wrong answer. So make sure that you actually have the radius that you're plugging in here. So let's go through how to type it into the calculator. Remember, we're going to use 3.14 for pi. So 3.14 times 6.25 times 6.25. And our approximate area, we're going to approximate it, is going to be 122, and I'm going to go ahead and round to the nearest hundredth, and I'm going to say 66. Now don't forget to put your units. It is meters squared. The nice thing about a video is it's going to stay in Google Classroom, so if you need to revisit this video tonight because you just can't remember how to do your homework, then just pull up the video again. You can rewind it, look at it again, whatever you need to do. So let's go ahead and flip this over so you can get some practice. Okay, I'm going to put 4 practice problems up here. Okay, so let's go ahead and put some numbers on here. Eight millimeters. Let's do one that's diameter. Diameter is equal to 1.5 feet. Okay, and then for this problem it says a circle has a radius of 3.5 feet. What is the area? John is filling in a circle-shaped sandbox. He needs to find the area of the sandbox to know how much sand to buy. The sandbox has a diameter of 6 feet. I want you to find the area so that we can tell John how much sand to buy. So what I need you to do now is pause the video. I want you to solve these. When you're ready, press play again and see if you were correct. All right, let's see how you did. So you have area is equal to pi r squared. So area is equal to pi times 8 squared. I feel like we did the same one on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to do 3.14 times 8 times 8. And yeah, we definitely did. So the area of this circle is 296 hundredths. And this is millimeters squared. Okay, let's go ahead and try this one now. We're going to just fill it in. It's going to be pi times the radius squared. But I'm looking at this and I see that you're given the diameter. So we need to find half of it. So take your calculator. 1.5 divided by 2 is 0.75. So that's what I'm going to put into my equation. So it's going to be 3.14 times 0.75 times 0.75. And I get that the area is equal to approximately equal to 1.77. I'm going to round it. And we should have approximately symbols here too. All right, hopefully you're doing well so far. Now sometimes you're going to be given a word problem that doesn't have a picture. I always recommend that you draw a picture because it helps you to understand what's going on. So I'm going to do that. It says that we have a circle with a radius of 3.5 feet. Okay, so what's the area? So I'm going to do pi times 3.5 squared. So when I put it into my calculator, it's 3.14 times 3.5 times 3.5. All right, so that means the area is approximately 38, and I'm going to round it to the nearest hundredth, and we're going to make this 47. And this is feet squared. Remember, area always has that squared symbol there. All right, Johnny is filling a circular shaped sandbox. So again, I am going to draw a picture. So here's my sandbox. He tells us that the diameter is 6 feet, which is the whole way across it. So we need to find the radius. To find the radius, we just do half of this. So half of 6 feet is 3 feet. Okay, so when I plug it in, it's going to be pi times 3 squared. So 3.14 times 3 times 3 equals 28 and 26/100. So that means the area is approximately 28 and 26/100, and this is feet cubed. Okay, so I hope you're feeling good about circles now. Tomorrow we're going to start talking about surface area, which will be loads of fun. Let's fill this in on our table of contents. Okay, so today's notes were yesterday's notes were the triangle and trapezoid. Today's notes was the area of circles. Okay? All right, get this all filed and put away, and then you can start working on your homework for the rest of the class period. I'll see you tomorrow.